First of all, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Rakakwadash. I want to start off by, I also want to give honors and a double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who has taught me this word, to the brothers down. I made a video, chopped up a little video on something called the fungal virus. It's a virus that it's been on the news lately. It's a pretty sickening virus. It's pretty sick. It comes from a video game called The Last of Us. But first of all, to give people a little bit more understanding of why these things are going on, I want to go into a couple precepts. The first precept I want to go into is Matthew 10 and 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword, and a sword can be anything. A modern day sword is a gun, nuclear weapons, even going into Esau science. Esau has many swords, poisoning food, poisoning the land, poisoning the ocean. Because Esau was blessed with the sword. Going back in Genesis 27, his blessing was the sword and the dew of the earth and the fatness of the earth and the sword. So he's really crafty, and if it wasn't for the movies and things, we couldn't even imagine what Esau had in store. So if he wasn't telling us in his movies and we were seeing all these different type of swords. Also another sword that he uses is his science, his V shots, his like going into Tuskegee project and all these HIV, these things were created. And that's another sword of Esau. Also, I want to go into another precept. Going back to this one, though, think not that I come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. You see, because the man is a man of Lord, because the Lord is a man of war. That's why you go into, what is Isaiah? I create the coal. I create the smith that bloweth the coal. The Lord creates everything. It's talking about nuclear weapons, So the Lord creates everything. So never think not that the Lord does not have full control. Never think that you have free will down here. Okay, and another precept I want to go into was, Salakia, give me just a second. Isaiah 45:7. This is Isaiah 44:5-7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Enough said right there. Let me read that again. I form the light. I create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So when you Christians is going saying that Satan did it, okay, if Satan did it, the Lord gave him the okay to do that. When we go into the Job, when Satan's walking up to and forth from the earth to speak to the Lord, and the Lord tells him to do all these things that Job don't kill him, that's giving proof that the Lord controls both sides of the spectrum. So never think that you got free will out here, like I said. Okay, so when you see these earthquakes killing 35,000 plus people out in Turkey, just know that the Lord let that happen. That didn't just happen on purpose. There's no such thing as coincidence out here. The Lord gave Esau that sword, and Esau is down here doing what he's supposed to do. Okay, so when I see things like that, I'm not bothered, because I know at the end of the day that I have the protection of the Lord with me, at least Lord willing. Okay, so with that being said, I want to go into the video. All right, so here we go.
A dangerous fungal illness is actually spreading across the desert Southwest right now. It's causing flu-like or COVID-like symptoms. It lives in sand and soil. Here's your weather connection. It's spread through the air, especially when it's windy or dusty. So it's airborne. You can imagine this is a very difficult type of illness to prevent in places like the desert Southwest.
And there are concerns that the disease could spread to other parts of the country, not to mention there's a decent-sized event in Arizona coming up this weekend on Fox. People are concerned about this growing threat.
Let's bring in Dr. Brad Perkins, Chief Medical Officer at Carius. Doctor, this is kind of wild. Valley fever. First of all, let's go over the symptoms.
This is a flu-like illness that among people that are symptomatic, they have fever, chills, they can have cough and difficulty breathing.
Is it deadly?
It can be. There are hundreds of deaths every year from valley fever, mostly in older adults and people with underlying immunocompromising illness.
It sounds a little bit silly, but it feels like there's a heightened awareness of this because it sounds like something directly out of the popular HBO show that just came out, The Last of Us. Now it's a fungus. It depicts a zombie apocalypse caused by the fungus. Of course, this is not that. But how significant of a threat is this? And is there a treatment or a vaccine for valley fever?
This is a threat for some segments of the population, but it's not a zombie apocalypse. This disease has been recognized in the United States for over 100 years, actually. It's primarily concentrated in the southwestern part of the United States, Arizona and California. It's recently been recognized, though, a little further north in the state of Washington. The challenge is really that the diagnostics for this test, for this disease, are not very good. We at Carius are working on more advanced molecular diagnostics that will give doctors the information they need to get people on the right therapies.
I mean, why now is this making headlines? Is it that combination, maybe some hypochondria coming out of the TV series? Is it the fact that we're having more dust storms across the West? Or maybe it's even the COVID complication of people thinking they have COVID. As you say, the diagnosis is not completely clear. Why is it making the headline right now?
There are a number of factors contributing to increased concern about valley fever. One is migratory patterns, people moving to the southwestern of the United States. The other, of course, is climate change and changing weather patterns. The other is that there are more immunosuppressed people living longer in the United States. That's probably a good thing. People with cancer and solid organ transplant, but they're more vulnerable to serious illness from this fungal pneumonia.
Dr. Perkins, we don't have much time left. Just wanted to ask you quickly, of course, a lot of folks will be heading to the desert Southwest this weekend
Super Bowl.
for the Super Bowl. Yeah, how big of a concern is that?
The risk is probably low if you're moving through the airport to a hotel to the Super Bowl. It's probably a low risk. But people, older adults and people with underlying immunocompromising illness, whether it's cancer, solid organ transplant, HIV infection, should be aware and try to limit their exposure to dusty situations.
Dr. Brad Perkins, Chief Medical Officer at Carius, thank you so much for answering all of our questions. We wish you the best of luck with your research. Sounds like a very important project. I'm Amy Freeze. Welcome to Fox Weather's YouTube page. We have more great videos on the way, so make sure to subscribe to stay updated on all things weather.
So the hit show The Last of Us is receiving rave reviews, and here's why we're talking about it. Because for those of you who don't know the premise of the show, so humanity is wiped out by a fungal infection that turns people into flesh-eating monsters. So it's sparking a lot of conversation online about the human brain and fungal viruses and the line between science fiction and reality. Like, could this actually happen to humans? And the answer isn't simple. Joining us live from the Baylor School of Medicine is Associate Professor Dr. David Corey. Good evening to you, Dr. Corey. Thank you for joining us this evening. So why do you first off think that this show has created so much interest in this very specific topic?
It's an incredibly interesting premise, and I think what really drives the interest is that there's more than just a little bit of potential truth to the premise. So it really grabs your attention because some of this may actually be real.
So that's a little concerning. I mean, obviously, we're not going to become flesh-eating monsters like the show, but talk to us about how the human brain disturbances can be caused by bacteria, whatever these disturbances are.
Sure. So first of all, the premise of the show is that we can become zombies with this fungus that really does exist and actually does convert ants into zombies. But that's not going to happen with us with this particular fungus. But the reality is that fungus of other types can get into our brains. That happens on a regular basis. Usually, when that happens, it's usually means a drastic disease, and it usually happens during some kind of serious injury or immunodeficiency. But increasing evidence is indicating that there may be a situation which common fungi in our bodies and in the environment can get into our brains under normal circumstances. So that's just very recent information, and what they're doing in our brains is not known today. So we have a lot more research that needs to get done to really understand that.
Wow. And that's what I was going to ask you about. What type of research specifically is being done, and how can this be beneficial for science in the future?
Sure. So there are a number of investigators who are interested in the causes of chronic degenerative brain disease, things like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease. Some early research has indicated that there is more fungus in the brains of folks that do have these chronic degenerative disorders. And so we and others are trying to confirm some of that and try to understand really what the significance of these fungi, if they are actually there in the brain, what their actual significance is. So we'll have to wait and see how that research comes out. But this is a very active area of research, and we think a very important one.
Wow, this is fascinating. All right, Dr. Corey, I appreciate it, and I hope we do talk to you soon whenever you find any updates.
Thank you.